I was looking at this show called 1923. This one character asked an Indian man how he learned to create what he was crafting with his bare hands. He said he learned from his father, but that their people have forgotten their ways of crafting. She asked why. He said the government. They used to trade things that they crafted. When they didn't have anything to trade anymore, it was given to them for free. People chose convenience over creating things. He said the government wants people to be beggars. When you're a beggar, you don't ask questions. She said we should just do things for ourselves, or you should just do things for yourself. He said until the government finds out you're doing it. She asked, why does the government care? He said, if you did things for yourself, or if we did things for ourselves, we wouldn't need the government. I'll be back. Hey, returning listeners and viewers, thank you for showing up. New folks, thank you. I ask that you guys check out the entire video. It helps a lot. Thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing. Sharing is caring. Also, if you guys hear any background noise, it's probably my AC. It's been hot out here. Hot, and I'm tired of it. Okay, let's get on with this content. Throughout the history of man, there always have been some kind of revolts, resistance, protests against laws and policies and regulations that some people felt were unfair, unjust. And you know what I'm kind of tired of? Not kinda, I'm very tired of feeling like I have to explain, or we have to, those who are native Black Americans to this land, feeling like we have to explain, you know? I'm tired of it. You see what's going on in this country. You see it. I was just looking at a show again, 1923, and I saw an episode where they were, people were coming in from other countries, right? And they was giving these people a hard time. Like, they did not want them here. They treated them like crap. And the procedures that women had to go through was very dehumanizing, very demeaning. And I just think about, you know, how this country in the beginning just really was anti-immigrant, right? That is until the laws changed that we pushed, that my ancestors pushed and demanded fairness. And then everybody benefited from that. And then what's so ludicrous is that those who come here, who are like 1-2 generation in, even if you 5-10 generations in, you should be very thankful. Very thankful. Because if it wasn't for my ancestors who pushed for these laws and policies for you to come over here and have a better life than what you have in your country, you should never open up your damn mouth and speak anything negatively against us, because if it wasn't for us, this would still be in your country hoping to make at least $1 an hour. Check out this video. I want to play this clip that I found thus far of just the audacity of immigrants and how boldly they speak against us while their feet are on American soil. Check this out.
Deportation efforts and all of that, they're facing the highest eviction rates that they've ever faced. The only way that they can have a fair chance is to hope that we get deported, because we came to this country, we did what needed to be done, and we made the best out of the efforts and the benefits that they ignored. They were born here and they weren't ahead of us. We came here and we passed them, and instead of them taking accountability, black and white, they always want to log in and shit on us. Baby, it's so damn hot outside. They're facing evictions left and right. This country is throwing its poor blacks and whites out on their ass.
You know what? Since you started it, sis, I'm just going to go ahead and finish it. Your entire country is a failure.
Your entire country is a failed state, which is the reason why you had to leave in the first place, right? So if we want to talk about success here, there, or anywhere, you already come from a lineage of failure, right? A lineage of people who cannot figure out basic infrastructure and who literally blames everybody else for their failures except themselves. Constantly blaming colonialism and white people for all of your problems, blaming stealing resources when even if they were to pull out from your nations, I don't even know how any of that works. But even if they were to just completely stop doing it, would you even know how to industrialize your resources? Would you even know how to make manufacturing plants and how to distribute products around the world? Like, would that even help the average everyday citizen from your country? Because I'm not really seeing too much progression. I'm really just seeing a lot of pointing the fingers and then coming over here and then trying to compare your top 10% to our bottom 10%. Like, that's literally what y'all do. Like, comparing your top 10% to somebody else's bottom 10% is not the flex that you think it is, sis.
That part. But they won't talk about the bottom 10% in their country, or 20%, who knows. But I just think about all these countries, and Haiti, Jamaica, some countries in Africa, because not all countries in Africa are at like the bottom when it comes to infrastructure. You actually have some very rich, prolific, successful countries in Africa. But I'm just saying, if I came from a poor, deprived country where my local leaders and politicians aren't doing me right, and I come here and I have the opportunity to do better, I would not degrade the people who are natives and American citizens. That's just me, Hey. So let's get on with this. This content, what I'm producing today, I'm talking about the milestones of Black America from beginning to now. What's being said, and I agree, when the going got tough for us, we did not leave America. And then some will be like, well, where would you go? Yeah, we could go other places. Like some Black folks went to Liberia. They said that country was created by Black Americans. Some Black folks went to Canada. Some Black people went to Europe. They have left. Yes, they have left. But they haven't left in droves, like millions on top of millions, where they're draining resources, where they're draining the economy. Yeah. So what the majority of us did, we stood. We fought for changes. We demand changes. We put on boycotts, which does a lot of damage to this day. We forced policies. We was like, hey, no taxation without representations. And Black Americans, you need to revisit that. For these states who are trying to take away your right, but they're still trying to tax you, like Texas and what they're doing with the redistricting. Yeah. Y'all need to revisit that. No taxes without representation. Okay, let's talk about the milestones that Black Americans have in this country that is we're native to. Black Native Americans and their contributions to American society since the 1600s. Native Americans, Black Americans, have fought for their independence and to be seen as equals. You know what? Let me stop right there. Let me put a pin in it. I'm not fighting to be seen as equal to who? Equal to who? Who are you that I have to be seen as an equal to you? Let's go on. These struggles have produced many historical figures and events that make all Americans proud, and a few that brought major disappointments. And that will be the racists who are so insecure that they have to go around the world and demand that you see them as superior. When you're superior, you don't have to go around and make people say you're superior. I'm going to present a chronological list of a few events that shaped Native Black American history and some information about the brave men and women who led the way for later generations. Let's start with the Stono Rebellion, 1739. One of the earliest slave revolts takes place in Stono, South Carolina, near Charleston. A score of whites and more than twice as many black slaves are unalived as the armed slaves try to flee to Florida. See, we were never stagnant. We were never like acceptant of slavery. We always fought. The thing is, you had a lot of wicked, stubborn, rebellious people that wanted to keep it going because they saw how much money they made. And when I read these milestones, you're going to see how much slavery played a part in the laws that we have today, as much as you guys want to deny it. Let's continue. Boston Massacre. Crispus attacks. Boston Massacre, March 5th, 1770. Crispus attacks. First Black American was unalive in a Revolutionary War. Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1782. Blacks fought for both the British and the American side during the Revolutionary War, depending on who was offering freedom for doing so. Battle of Trenton, December 25th, 1779. Black American soldier Prince Whipple, a black man, crossed the Delaware with General Washington on December 25th, 1779, on the eve of the Revolutionary War, famous Battle of Trenton. Massachusetts grants Black Americans right to vote, 1780. February 9th, 1780, Captain Paul Cuff and 6 other Black American residents of Massachusetts petitioned the state legislature for the right to vote, claiming no taxation without representation. The residents had earlier refused to pay taxes. The courts agreed and awarded Cuff and the 6 other defendants full civil rights. So what you guys can tell these state governors that, hey, if you're going to take away my rights as an American citizen and not represent me fully, I'm not paying taxes. You cannot keep taking taxes from American citizens and not giving them full representation. I don't even understand why Black Americans are still paying taxes. You could say whatever the hell you want to with all the unfairness and disenfranchisement and documented racism, racist attacks against us. Why are we still paying taxes? Why are we still paying taxes? It's been unfair, and we pay more taxes than any other. Okay, let's go on. I'm telling y'all, a lot of these laws and policies were based. Okay, y'all want to keep making it seem like slavery wasn't a big deal. Keep on lying, Florida. Y'all gonna fall off into that ocean. Keep lying. You're gonna have the biggest earthquake this earth has ever seen. You keep lying, saying slavery wasn't that bad. If it wasn't that bad, why are you trying to make it look like it wasn't that bad? If it wasn't that bad, you wouldn't have to make it look like it wasn't that bad. You're lying. You're lying. Gabriel Conspiracy, 1800. On August the 30th, 1800, a tremendous storm dropped heavy rain on central Virginia, swelling creeks. The storm aborted one of the most extensive slave plots in American history, a conspiracy known to hundreds of slaves throughout central Virginia. A charismatic blacksmith named Gabriel was owned by Thomas Prosser of Henrico County, planned to enter Richmond with force, captured the capital and the Virginia State Armory, and hold Governor James Monroe hostage to bargain for freedom for Virginia slaves. See, we were never complacent. We never, ever settled and just accepted slavery. They don't want to tell you that part. Slave revolt in Louisiana, 1811. More than a century before the first modern-day civil rights march, Charles DeLondes and his make-do army of more than 200 enslaved men battled with hoes and axes and cane and knives for that most basic human right. The Vesey Conspiracy, 1822. In response to the closing of their church in Charleston, which boasted a membership of over 3,000 in 1820, Denmark Vesey used his position as a respected free man and Methodist leader to organize other free and enslaved blacks to battle for freedom. How many pastors would do that today? Or how many would be concerned about their 501(c)(3)? Yeah. Let's continue. Freedom's Journal, 1827 through 1829. Samuel Cornish and John Russburn published Freedom's Journal, the first Black American newspaper in America. It went from March 16th, 1827 to March the 28th, 1829. That was 2 years. Let's continue. Nat Turner Slave Revolt, 1831. In late summer 1831, a free man of color named Billy Artis, a celebrated slave known as Jen Nelson, and a slave preacher by the name of Nat Turner helped lead an insurrection of slaves seeking freedom in Southampton County, Virginia. You know what's so crazy and ludicrous about this whole thing? Anytime the enslaved tried to revolt or did a revolt for freedom, they were treated like monsters because they actually went against the grain and fought for natural rights that every man, every woman and child has on this earth, because they wanted something that they had a right to have. Harriet Tubman, 1820, March 10th, 1913. The most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad, having escaped slavery herself, she returned time and time again to rescue family and friends in Maryland between 1849 and the outbreak of the Civil War. She was nicknamed General Tubman by John Brown and Grandma Moses by others for leading so many slaves out of bondage. She also served as a spy for Union forces during the Civil War. She was awarded full military honors upon her death. What was that madness they did? When did the Tubman movie come out? About 4 years ago. What was that all about? Making it seem like Harriet was like struggling with some romantical feelings for the white enslaver. If that woman could come back alive today and see that, she would probably go to Hollywood and slap every single person that has something to do with that movie. Does that woman seem like she struggled with romantical feelings for an enslaver? Do you know the things these people witnessed during slavery? And you really think that a black woman who witnessed things happening to her children, women, and men would struggle with romantical feelings? That was disgusting. Revolting. Let's go on. What's revolting about it is, if you guys have an idea of how slavery was, when you look at a lot of the information they got about slavery, what came from enslaver journals and diaries. Yeah, they wrote the sickening things they did to and the enslaved. They wrote them down. As I tell you, white America writes everything down. So, okay, let's go on. Sojourner Truth electrifies Women's Rights Conference 1851. Freed woman Sojourner Truth, a compelling speaker for abolition, gives her famous "Ain't I a Woman" speech in Akron, Ohio. Truth would later move to Battle Creek, Michigan. On June 1st, 1834, Sojourner Truth set out for New York on a historic journey across America. She traveled far and wide, preaching about the evils of slavery and promoting women's rights. She claimed the Lord gave her the name Sojourner Truth, as he had called upon her to travel up and down the land, declaring the truth to people. She gained her freedom when the New York State Emancipation Act was passed in 1827. An impressive sight, she stood 6 feet tall and wore a satin banner that said, "Proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." Truth was the guest of President Lincoln at the White House on several occasions and was one of the voices that influenced Lincoln to recruit Black American soldiers for the Union Army during the Civil War. Dred Scott versus Sanford, 1857. Who don't know about Dred Scott? Basically, him and his wife were in a state that was considered, it didn't have slavery. And they lived there for quite a while with the enslaver that owned them. And they felt that as long as they were there for the amount of time that they lived in that free state, they should have gained, they have a right to gain their freedom, and they voted against it. They were returned to a slave state, and they filed a case saying that they should have their right because they lived for years in a free slave state, a state that was free, anti-slavery. And so this Chief Justice Roger B. Taney said no. The majority opinion of the court, which stated that slaves were not citizens of the United States and therefore could not expect any protection from the federal government or the courts. The opinion also stated that Congress had no authority to ban slavery from a federal territory. And then the decision of Scott versus Sanford, considered by legal scholars to be the worst ever rendered by the Supreme Court, was overturned by the 13th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution, which abolished slavery and declared all persons born in the U.S. to be citizens. That is so sad. That is so sad. Oh my God. Do these people not know that the seeds you plant come back? I guess they don't grasp that concept, do they? Okay, let's go on. Nicholas Biddle, first Black American soldier wounded in Civil War 1861, just days after Fort Sumter, a pro-Confederate mob in Baltimore, Maryland, turned ex-slave Nicholas Biddle into the war's first casualty. Robert Smalls commandeers Confederate ship and delivers it to the Union. May 13, 1862, Robert Smalls became a ship pilot and eventually a captain for the Union during the Civil War. Unable to read or write and a former slave, Smalls would ultimately achieve the rank of Major General and serve 5 terms in the U.S. Congress. I wonder how much they paid them. I wonder how much they pay black congressmen and women. Well, men. Let's go on. War Department General Order 143, creation of the U.S. Colored Troops, 1863. The War Department issued General Order 143 on May 22nd, 1863, creating the United States Colored Troops. Colored, hear that? If you are non-Black American and you are from Africa and you guys still say colored, here's why we don't say colored. Creating the United States Colored Troops. By the end, because it was another way of saying niggers. It was nothing good. That word was nothing good about that word, colored. By the end of the Civil War, roughly 179,000 black men, 10% of the Union Army, served as soldiers in the U.S. Army, and another 19,000 served in the Navy. Bravery displayed at Fort Wagner, 1863, earns first U.S. Medal of Honor for a Black American soldier. On July 18th, 1863, at the Battle of Fort Wagner outside Charleston, South Carolina, William H. Cannery of the 54th Massachusetts displays the courage that will ultimately win him the first U.S. Medal of Honor given to a Black American. Wade Davis Bill, 1864. Near the end of the Civil War, this bill created a framework for Reconstruction and the readmission of the Confederate States to the Union. Although Lincoln used a pocket veto to kill it, after his assassination, the Republican Congress passed the measure requiring, among other things, that Southern states give the Negro the right to vote. The Civil Rights Act of 1866 granted citizenship and the same rights enjoyed by white citizens to all male persons in the U.S. without distinction of race or color or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude. 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, Civil Rights, July the 9th, 1868, passed by Congress June the 13th, 1866, and ratified July the 9th, 1868. The 14th Amendment extended liberties and rights granted by the Bill of Rights to former slaves. First Black American elected official in Michigan, 1868. In 1868, the same year, the state rejected the 15th Amendment, giving blacks the right to vote. Dawson Pompey became the first Black American to hold elective office in Michigan when convert residents chose him to oversee local and road projects. Mary Ellen Pleasant, 1868. Long before Rosa Parks, Mary Ellen Pleasant sued to win the right to ride on cable cars in San Francisco. And California is supposed to be a progressive state. I hate to see if they weren't progressive. The 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, Voting Rights, 1870, passed by Congress February 26, 1869, and ratified February 3, 1870. The 15th Amendment granted Black American men the right to vote. At the same time, however, the first Jim Crow or segregation laws passed in Tennessee, mandating the separation of Black Americans from white on trains and depots. In short order, the rest of the South falls into step. By the end of the century, Black Americans are banned from white hotels, barbershops, restaurants, theaters, and other public accommodations. By 1885, most southern states also have laws requiring separate schools. They've been messing with us since slavery. They never stop. First heart surgery performed by Black physician, 1873. Black American physician Daniel Hale Williams performs the world's first, not the state, not county, not city, world first successful open heart surgery. It was done by a native Black American. What say you? What? Oh, you don't think you're so superior now, huh? You know, when people come in and say, they coming for you, they gonna come for y'all, black folks, Black Americans, they gonna, I was like, shut the F up, please. They never stop. What do you guys do you not understand? Am I not speaking in English? They never stop coming for us. Let's continue. Civil Rights Act of 1875, that all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall be entitled to the full and equal and enjoyment of accommodations, advantages, facilities, and privileges of inns, public conveyance on land or water, theaters, and other places of public amusement, subject only to the conditions and limitations established by law and applicable alike to citizens of every race, color, regardless of any previous condition of servitude. Now, see, these things came by way of us, our fights and demand. So next time you want to open your mouth and talk crazy, don't. Just think about the freedom you have in this country to take care of yourself and your family, and then think about the freedom you don't have in your own country to take care of you and your family. You know, when you want to come and call us lazy, alive. Let's continue. Ida B. Wells launches her anti-lynching crusade, 1892. Black American journalist Ida B. Wells begins a crusade to investigate the lynchings of Black Americans after 3 of her friends are lynched in Tennessee. When I was my professor used to call me Ida B. Wells Barnett. That's how I got so into her. I saw what she did and how she stood up and how she sounded. That was the name of her newspaper, Sounding the Alarm. I never stopped sounding the alarm. Never. I've been doing this for a long time, folks. Yep. Before social media, as I said on multiple videos, before social media, when we had to do the snail mail and before emails, actually do footwork, knock on doors and go to these political figures' offices that you put in office, go in their face and talk to them. They ain't celebrity. Even a celebrity, you can talk to them at the right time. These people are painted this image like they're untouchable, like they're gods or something. They are regular folks. And if it wasn't for our time and attention and some of you guys, some of your support, they wouldn't be where they are today. So they need to relax, for real. Calm down. So that's about it. It's a long list on this milestone that I didn't really want to, of course I wasn't going to read all of it. I can read one more and then I'm going to close up this. First Black American reaches the North Pole, 1909. April 6, 1909, Matthew Henson became the first man to reach the North Pole. Robert E. Peary, the expedition's commander, arrived about 45 minutes after Henson. The temperature was 29 degrees when Henson planted the American flag at 90 degrees north, the only place on the planet where the only way you can go is south. Need I remind you folks that all these milestones that we achieved in this country, nothing was given to us. The only thing that I see where things have been given to other groups, I do, especially the last 4 years. I saw where they were given resources that, we have to fight for. None of these milestones that we have achieved, our ancestors achieved, was given to us. This country made sure not to give us anything. And when I hear these fools, these white racists talk about us getting handouts or wanting handouts, sometimes you just wish you could just take a ball of. It's pathetic and sad that you have to spout these lies just to feel better about yourself, when in actuality the ones who are given handouts are the ones who say we want handouts. It's so sad that we have to constantly remind these first and second generation folks to mind their manners, to be respectful, watch their tone, because that's why we're delineating. Because it's like, since you guys pride yourselves on coming to another person's country and making a way out of no way, which I think we would see it differently. You would be given so much more respect if you made a way out of nothing in your own country. But you want to come here and boast and brag about how you made a way out of nothing in this country. It's not hard when you're an immigrant. We said they brought you over to be buffers. So of course they're going to make it easier for you, because they want to make it look like we're lazy. So they make it easy for you. It's all a psychological game. But now you guys have been let into the game. Deportation. They're letting you know, what these black folks said, or no, what these nigresses said about you was true. We were using you. Now we have no use for you. So how does that make you feel? Like, damn, I should have listened to them. Too late. But anyway, I'm about to shut up shop. Thank you all who listened to the entire video. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing this video with those who you feel would be interested or is interested in the history that we created in this country, with a little bit of help from others, but most of the work has been done from our ancestors and a lot of us now who are continuing on. All right, folks, I'm out. Enjoy your third day extended weekend, and I will see y'all in the next video. Take care.